And welcome all to the Welcome to Derry episode one live after show. And I must say, just finished watching the episode only moments ago, as I'm sure many of you did as well. And I gotta say, I liked it. I was impressed. I thought it was a pretty decent opening, a pretty strong opening. Had some scenes I really enjoyed. Had some things that maybe were could have been done a little bit better, but for the most part, I enjoyed the premiere. I enjoyed the premiere. There were some really, really good things there. Some real things to be excited about, I think, for the rest of the series. Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, here's my wonderful co-host, PM Philosophy. Thank you for joining us, PM. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I was just saying to the chat that it was pretty strong opening, a pretty decent first episode for the most part. I mean, there were some scenes that I really, really enjoyed, some scenes that maybe could have been handled a little bit better, but for the most part, overall, for a first episode, I think it did its job. I think it sufficiently did its job for a pilot episode. And I'm excited. I'm very excited to see where the rest of this season goes. That opening in particular, the first 5-10 minutes of the episode, and totally called it, had a feeling that one of the first scenes was going to be the hitchhiker boy on the side of the road. And we did get that sequence very early on. I think that was a great way to open up the show. I think it was a good way to show the reach of Pennywise, the danger of Pennywise, and this sense where once you're marked, you're marked. You can't escape. He's not going to let you escape. And it just instills that fear in you, like, okay, this is, it's starting right from the beginning, right off the bat. And of course, it shows that the show is not afraid to kill off some characters, some main characters, even as we saw how the episode progressed and ended in particular. Still up in the air as to whether or not that was a dream sequence. I saw a lot of people talking about online whether that last scene was a dream sequence or real. But it looks pretty real. But then again, you never know. Pennywise is the master of illusions. But either way, the show is definitely not afraid to go a little bit bloody very fast. That opening scene in particular was wild. The birth scene, all of that, the creepy demonic baby. It was a very interesting way to kick off the season. And overall, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where the rest of this is going to go. But welcome one, welcome all. So glad to see each and every one of you here. And of course, we want to hear from each and every one of you in the chat as well. What exactly did you think of the first episode? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What scenes did you like? What scenes did you not like? We want to hear from you. But what about you, PM? Just your initial thoughts on episode one. Do you think it got you sufficiently invested?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a good start to the series. I will say, I feel like it had a little bit of a slow start.
Uh-huh.
I mean, for those of us that kind of know what Pennywise does, I think we suspect that he's probably going to go after that child, right? But they're kind of building this world. We're getting to know the town. We're getting to know
Yeah.
the dynamic of the people in the town. We have, the airman and what he kind of has to deal with.
Yep.
So I think it's a good setup. Now, I thought it was a dream sequence too. To go so hard on the
So
first
fast.
episode where you're like killing away our gang, right? We always get
Mm,
this little gang of misfits who are going to go against Pennywise and to get rid of, a lot of them within the first episode. It seems like an interesting choice.
mhm.
But then again, we're going to be traveling back in time. So we're not going to
Yep.
necessarily be hanging out with them
True.
the entire time. So that
True.
kind of makes sense.
That is a good point. I mean, regardless of what characters die during the series or make it to the finale and survive, regardless, it's not wise to get too attached to these characters because season two is going to go back even further in time. So everyone we're meeting here, or I imagine most of the people we're meeting here, are not going to be in season two, regardless if they survive the season or not. So that is a very good point. But yeah, I mean, and now it has me wondering. IMDb has been notorious ever since its inception for being wildly inaccurate at times. Sometimes IMDb will give you some good information. More often than not, IMDb will be a little bit inaccurate. And one thing I was noticing because I checked IMDb a few times during the filming of the show and a little while before the show actually started, and it does have the a lot of the child actors that we see in all the trailers. This version of the quote unquote Losers Club, it has a lot of them scheduled to only be in 3 episodes, which I thought was interesting. I thought it's just another IMDb mistake, another IMDb inaccuracy. But now I'm starting to wonder, maybe it wasn't. Maybe characters are going to get killed off a little bit quicker than we thought. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows if they are really gone, if it was a dream sequence? Again, that has definitely been the debate ever since this episode aired. I know the episode just aired, but I'm already seeing tons of conversation in that area in terms of that last scene. And we're going to dissect it. We're going to talk about everything that we saw, of course. But first, you know how we do here. We have to say what is up to the awesome chat. Let's see who is joining us here this evening. Welcome one, welcome all. We got the Rogue Prince in the house. Welcome, Rogue Prince. Can't wait for this discussion. Me too. Me too. I am sufficiently excited to dive into it. Welcome to Derry. Again, I enjoyed it. I thought overall, it was a good episode, I thought. We got Magnus Galactus OG. What is up, Magnus Galactus? Good to see you as well. We got Starlight in the house. What is up, Starlight CC? Always good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Eve Jarmarillo. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Big Dago. Oh, Elizabeth, excuse me. That's our good pal Elizabeth, who always has good takes on From, and I'm sure she can have some phenomenal takes on it as well. Welcome, Elizabeth. We got Big Dago in the building. Welcome, Big Dago. Good to see you. We got Golden Child in the house as well. What is up, Golden Child? Good to see you. We got Comfy Shorts. They floated in the first episode. Well, some floating. There's something going on. There's certainly something going on in that first episode, floating or otherwise, for sure. For sure. Not sure if I like the baby creature. I expected it to, I don't know, look a little different. It having an umbilical cord was wild, though. It was pretty wild. That opening sequence was pretty wild indeed. And yeah, to see the creepy kind of demonic baby definitely wasn't. Part of me was half expecting to see like a mini Pennywise, like a mini clown or something. But the show tends to create these, not the show, but at least in the movies, Pennywise would tend to create these very weird and disgusting kind of forms. In particular, in It Chapter 2, that little small baby like cherub thing that manifests when they're eating at dinner. That very much reminded me of a bigger version of that. But yeah, it was, I can't say I loved the baby creature, but I can't say I hated it either. I feel like it sufficiently did its job in terms of being, shocking. But yeah, the umbilical cord being attached was pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, and it's another form, right? So that was interesting because we did get to see Pennywise take in another form. It was a baby with two heads, wings. So that
Wings,
was interesting.
wings. Well,
Now, I do wonder if the reason why he chose that sort of like deformed baby form was because Maddie was using a pacifier. He was very much like comforting himself by doing
mhm.
something that a baby
Yeah,
does.
he had a
So,
pacifier, like to deal with his
mhm.
stress. It seemed little old for a pacifier, but you can see this kid's clearly traumatized.
Yeah, so because he showed himself like this to Maddie, I'm wondering if that was like Maddie's ultimate fear,
Here,
this like sort of baby
yeah,
creature.
maybe.
So the pacifier was really interesting, I thought.
It was pretty funny. And again, it's you see him, he's got a black eye. You can clearly see he's had some kind of run-in with Pennywise or with one of Pennywise's forms. Like he's clearly trying to get out of Derry. He's clearly afraid. He knows about Pennywise. He wants out. Um, so you can see that trauma and that fear was very much manifesting, not only in the car, but even when at the very beginning of the episode, when he's sitting in the movie theater. He's got the pacifier in his mouth while he's watching the movie. So you can tell like he's incredibly traumatized right from the very beginning. And of course, I imagine we're probably going to learn a little bit more about his backstory as the season progresses. Clearly, he's had some type of run in somewhere with Pennywise, and it's definitely left him shook enough to just completely ditch town. And we don't know much about this kid. I mean, there's still very question marks surrounding his life. We know that he was kind of friends with our current version of the Losers Club, but not like real friends. It seemed like they weren't like super friendly with him, although the girl seemed to be, even though she, wasn't that good of a friend to him. He was certainly looking for a romantic entanglement, but she was, you're in the friend zone, pal. Sorry, when you're in the friend zone, you are in the friend zone. Get comfortable. But yeah, you see right from the very beginning, he's got this thing in his mouth while he's watching this movie, and he's just super traumatized, and it shows. It shows.
Yeah, and so we see our little gang of misfits because even though Maddie seems to be really on the outskirts of society there, the others are too. They seem to be best friends. Phil, which I love, my favorite one was Phil because he was hilarious.
Yeah,
He
he was.
really is a kid after my own heart. He was just like saying all of these conspiracy theories, which I thought were super interesting. And
Totally.
really,
I should have known you were going to like him the second we heard him talking about all his ideas for why aliens really exist, because we know how much you love your aliens.
love the aliens, but also it's relatable for the time period. So
Yes.
this takes place
Yeah.
in 1962, and it was 1947 that we get the Roswell incident,
Roswell. Yep.
where there was a UFO that crashed into Roswell, New Mexico, and
Hmm.
the conspiracy theory says that they took the things that they found in this UFO, whether they were aliens or people, and they put them in a base. So
Hmm.
him having a conspiracy around the base, the US Air Base in town, I thought was really interesting and totally like fitting for the time of these
Hmm.
people having to deal with war, but they're also discovering a whole new fear with these UFO sightings.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a time of fear and hysteria. 1962 America, there was a lot going on, so much going on everywhere you looked. The fear was incredibly palpable. You could cut it with a damn knife. There was so much tension at the time, and yeah, something like Pennywise, an entity like Pennywise, feeds into that fear as well, if not better than anything else. Like this time period was probably one of Pennywise's most effective time periods in terms of being able to just prey on all this palpable fear that is everywhere in children and in adults. So I think it was interesting for them to kind of establish early on what the gravity of the situation. We saw some interesting scenes through Leroy Hanlon and him meeting his superior, and them very much putting forth the notion that there's a very serious conflict going on, and at any point they could be called to action. Like they're really ramping up that there's high tension going on at this point in time in America, which of course is very accurate to our history. Um, let's see who else we got. We got Zaid in the house. What is up, Zaid Comments? Good to see you, my friend. Whoa, just finished watching with the girlfriend. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Definitely let us know what you think. I am eager to hear your opinion, my friend. Pretty good. Pretty good so far. Must say, I was impressed with the first episode. We got Blue in the house. Welcome, Blue. We got Chelsea in the house as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see each and every one of you. I see Minerva in the building. Welcome, welcome, Minerva. Good to see you as always. And I see Big Heck in the building as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That was definitely a statement episode. Yeah, again, and please sound off in the comment section, guys. Let us know what you think. Did you like the premiere? Did you not like the premiere? What scenes did you like? What scenes didn't you like? Let us know. But yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was a pretty solid start so far. and it's got me to the point where I'm at least intrigued and hooked enough where I very much want to see where this is going to go next. I think the characters were introduced pretty well. PM, you mentioned the world building. I think they were very, very thorough just in this first episode alone at establishing a good amount of world building, not just again in the town of Terry, Maine, but at the world at large and the kind of tension and the stakes of everything that's happening at the time. The world building for a pilot episode was great here.
Yeah, it was. And like some of you guys are saying in the chat, we didn't just get to see the children, which I like. I like meeting our characters, but we got to see a little bit of their backstory. And they
Mhm.
accomplished all of that within the first episode, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
Just giving us a couple of minutes of their homes. And we got to see that some of them are dealing with religious
Mhm.
issues at home, right? And then Theodore, right? He's Jewish, and his father giving him that
Yes.
line of, there are plenty of things to be afraid of in the real world because we are Jewish, and like we know that the real world is much more devastating than his comic books. I thought that that was really interesting that he mentioned that, because I mean he's 100% right. In this 1960s, I mean, the world itself is scarier than Pennywise. And Pennywise is using the world as inspiration instead of the other way around.
That's true. Very good point. And I think that's even, supported even more with some of the teasers and trailers we've gotten for Welcome to Derry as well. He's using these real world current conflicts and these real world current fears, and he's amping them up to 100. And again, case in point, the one of the most iconic shots from the earlier trailers, at least in my opinion, when he was all of a sudden disguised as something most soldiers do probably have a little bit of fear of. Uncle Sam, and a demonic version Uncle Sam. He's amping up the tension that is in the air right now. This cold war that is happening, where at any moment it could be flipped on and a cold war goes to a hot war really fast. When you're in the middle of that state and you're a soldier, it's probably a constant state of unease, a constant state of anxiety, just wondering if today is going to be the day where we get that order. So him, like you said, he's using the conflicts that are currently at present in Derry and in the world to his advantage, very much to his advantage. And I think we're going to continue to see that theme throughout the season. I think we're going to continue to see him utilize his environment to affect his goals. I mean, yes, he can turn into kind of anything he wants, but he usually tends to turn into whatever you fear the most. And with all this stuff going on in the world, yeah, we're going to see a lot of reflections of things just like this, I think.
Yeah, the real world is scarier than anything he could come up with at this point. But I really like the turtle. So I, as you
Yes.
know, when we talked in the pre-show, I'm looking for the turtle. I want to know
Yeah.
more about the turtle. And we got
That's
so
Bert
much
the Turtle.
turtle symbolism, so many like
Yeah.
images of the turtle. And I thought it was interesting that the phrase fitting for the time being, duck and cover, but
Yep.
also from Pennywise himself. They have it in the school. And I did feel like this is the cosmic turtle kind of telling the children, duck and cover. You need to
Mm,
be
yeah.
careful.
Yeah.
And they find the little turtle in the Cracker Jack box.
Yeah. Hmm.
And the little girl tells him turtles are lucky, but she gets to keep
Yeah.
the turtle, not
Mhm.
Maddie. And we know what happened to Maddie.
And we see what
And
happens to her.
she survives. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I love that. I love that they're already this early setting up the turtle as a symbolism of hope and protection and renewal and nurturing, which is all the things that Maturin stands for, the very embodiment of creation. So I thought it was interesting when I first saw the Bert the Turtle thing. It makes me think of two things. Yes, it makes you think of the cosmic turtle, but it makes you think of Bert the Turtle himself as well. Bert the Turtle was everywhere in the 60s. And I did a little video on this when the earlier trailer came out, diving into who Bert the Turtle was. And these commercials and these ads were everywhere in the 60s when the Cold War was going on. It was essentially just an advertisement to duck and cover and take shelter in case of a nuclear fallout, back when they thought ducking and covering was sufficient to save you from a nuclear fallout, which of course we know today is not. So I thought it was an interesting, again, it's another sign of just how tumultuous these times really are, where kids are going to school and they're seeing ads trying to teach them how to survive a nuclear blast. That is a very intense way of living. I mean, these are children we're talking about, children who are probably at this rate a little too young to fully comprehend, the danger that everybody was in during this time. But yeah, I love the symbolism of the turtle already being thrown into the show, where the turtle is essentially a symbol of protection. That's where what Bert the Turtle is, a symbol of protecting yourself from the blast, which is very symbolic of the cosmic turtle, as you've mentioned, Maturin, who of course is that very same embodiment, the embodiment of protection, of creation. So I love that. This early on, we're already getting some really good symbolism pointing towards the cosmic turtle. Love that.
Yeah, and the comic books, right? And this is so you,
Yes.
right? We know that your channel started as a comics channel, which you still have your second channel. I
Mhm.
really like that they incorporated a lot that you could take a look at in every scene and kind of connect back and forth. So this is going to be a great series to look at symbolism, little Easter eggs. The comic book that Phil was working on with Theodore was a comic book that kind of showed Pennywise. He's talking about this
Mhm.
UFO connection. And if you
Yep,
take a look at the comic book, he's basically drawing Pennywise with that bulbous head that we
pretty
know,
much.
right?
Martian walks among us. Pennywise is often considered as an alien-like creature because he comes from a different dimension. Very foreshadowing for Pennywise, 100%.
And a lot of what he was saying was making sense. And I
Mm,
connected back to what we know is actually happening in Derry. I still found it really interesting that when Theodore and Lily tell Phil of what's actually happening and what they are witnessing, he finds that hard to believe. Even though he believes in Martians, conspiracy theories,
mhm.
makes like theories of his own. He couldn't believe that Maddie was in the pipes.
Yeah, true, very true. And that's so funny, and that's so typical where, you have trouble believing that this kid is yelling to you from the pipes, but you will go above and beyond to try and prove that aliens exist. Very interesting kind of parallels there, I guess you could say. But yeah, really good, really good. Does the movie play that all the kids shared mean they were entering another dimension? Does the movie play that all the kids shared mean they were entering another dimension? Um, I'm not
Perhaps
sure.
what you are referring to is the scene where we see the children watching the movie where Maddie is inside the film and
Yeah.
Maddie is in another dimension. He
Oh,
is
does the
talking to
film
them.
play with stuff like that too?
Yes.
Not with other kids, but there is actually one scene when, the Losers Club in It Chapter 1, they're watching some film, and in the back, they see, like, Pennywise, the dancing clown, like, it's like footage of, like, the circus, and then they see some more footage that looks to be like a much more modern, parade, and all of a sudden, boom, you see Pennywise right there in the film, and he literally jumps out of the film, out of the screen, into the room that they're in and attacks them. So you do see something similar in the movie. Yes, absolutely. You see Pennywise literally leap out of a film, out of a screen, and into the real world and starts attacking them. That was a crazy scene. I remember that one. Really crazy scene from the first movie, It Chapter 1. And that's another, testament to how powerful Pennywise is and how powerful his illusions can be. He can make you see nearly anything just as easily as he can transform into nearly anything. His psychic abilities are second to none. He's incredibly powerful.
Yeah. Um, and I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, Golden Child, so clarify in the comments, but do you mean to ask, because we saw Maddie inside of the film, does this mean that he's sending the children to another dimension? Because I also was wondering that
Uh,
too.
mhm.
Was that
No.
actually Maddie, or was that Pennywise pretending to be Maddie?
Yeah, that was definitely Pennywise. 100% an illusion by Pennywise. It wasn't really Maddie. Anytime we see Maddie on screen or something portrayed as Maddie, it's going to be Pennywise every time. It's going to be him sending the illusion of Maddie or turning himself into Maddie. But yeah, it's not like he's in some other dimension. What Pennywise ultimately does with his victims, if he doesn't kill them, he exposes them to the deadlights, and we saw an aspect of this in It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2, when Pennywise literally opens up and he exposes Beverly Marsh to the deadlights. And here she is, and she instantly starts floating up. That's where the whole, you're float too, you'll float too, we all float down here. Pennywise's ultimate goal is to expose people. If he's not feeding on you, he's going to expose you to these deadlights, his true form, to the point where you become kind of trapped in your own worst nightmare, essentially. His way of trapping your soul almost. So Pennywise, if he's not feeding on you and eating you and killing you, his goal is to expose you to these deadlights, usually. And again, we're going to see a lot of the deadlights. He's looks like we're going to see a good portion of the deadlights get used at some point in the series, just based on the trailers anyway. But no, he usually doesn't trap anybody in other dimensions or anything like that. If you see Maddie on screen or anybody else on screen that looks familiar, 9 times out of 10, it's usually just him creating that illusion.
Okay. So it wasn't him in the drain. And I do see you guys in the comments are talking about
Oh, it's him in the
how
drain. Not just not really. Oh, it's Maddie in the not Maddie in the drain. No, it's
nah,
it's
Maddie,
Pennywise. Yeah, it's Pennywise in the
it's
drain.
just Pennywise utilizing the newest person that he captured to
Exactly. Yeah.
entice the other children.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. The big fear I see is that Pennywise could be anyone you could walk into that. I mean, that's a very, very true statement. And that's one of the parts that makes Pennywise so dangerous is he's a chameleon. He's a shapeshifter of the highest order. He can turn into nearly anything he wants, size and shape too. It's not like he can just turn into things that are of the same mass as him. He can shrink, he can grow super big, like he can turn into almost anything. But again, on top of that, he also has incredibly powerful psychic abilities as well, where he can manifest just about anything he wants, make you see just about anything you want, which is what we kind of saw at the beginning of the episode with Maddie getting into the car with that whole family. That's Pennywise kind of creating this scenario for him, so powerful that it actually looks and feels real, that you can touch it. But 9 times out of 10, it's not always Pennywise actually transforming into stuff. Sometimes it's just him creating these very powerful illusions for people. But yeah, he could be anyone. He could be absolutely anyone, and he does take on a human persona of Bob Gray that we talked a little bit about earlier. And it looks like we're going to get some Bob Gray action at some point in the series as well. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Can't wait for some of the flashbacks to see his past and some of his history. I really thought the little girl was going to stick around as like a Luna Lovegood smoothie Smarty Pants, but the hand, OMG. Yeah, the hand was pretty funny. The hand was pretty funny. You see her just completely like, just, after everything that just happened to her, completely dumbfounded, completely just frozen there, and probably doesn't even realize she's holding that damn hand, if I had to guess. But yeah, she had it rough. But again, she's the only one that survived. Everyone else bit the dust. Maybe again, I know that debate is going around out there, and I guess that's one thing we could ask the chat. I'd love to know what you guys think on that, and you as well, PM. I know the episode only just aired, but there's already a lot of conversation around that final scene as to whether or not it was real or whether or not it was an illusion. So let us know what you guys think. Do you think this last scene really happened? Did we see all of these kids already get killed off? Or did you think that this was yet another illusion by Pennywise? Was this real? Did they all get killed? Or was it an illusion? What about you, PM? Do you think all these kids are really gone?
Um, no. And the reason why I think that is because we kind of seem to get a reoccurring theme here where the children go missing. You don't have part of their bodies being found. So until now, I don't believe that we have seen a story where they find pieces of the child and they 100% know that the child is gone. So, right here, we have bodies all over the theater. She's holding a physical hand, and usually, Pennywise takes the children. You don't find them, you don't find their bodies, just like they were
Mm,
saying with Maddie. Um, we don't know if he's alive or dead. They didn't find a body. Even though everything may point to him being gone, they even blame the father for his murder.
mhm,
There is no physical body. And when I think back of the other children, they go missing, but there is no remains. Like he doesn't leave physical parts of their body around. So it makes me think that it's an illusion.
okay, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, let us know. What do you guys think? What do you think? Yeah, Drew is also asking. My question was the ending scene real? Again, that's a debate. That is the debate. The only episode is again only just aired, but there's already a lot of kind of split down the middle when it comes to this final scene as to whether or not it was real or whether or not it was an illusion brought on by Pennywise. Yeah, I don't know. Me personally, I feel like it could go either way. I feel like it could go either way. I'm trying to think back in all of the trailers to try and think of scenes that are in the trailers that we haven't seen yet. And I'm kind of remembering some. So part of me wonders if it really was fake, if it really was just an illusion. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. I did love how the young one in the booth grabbed a hammer on her way out. She got the hammer. She was ready, ready with some hammer time. Ready with some hammer time. Yeah, like baby girl was not going down easy. Nope, not going down without a fight. Was not going down without swinging that hammer around. But yeah, what do you guys think? Was an illusion? Did it really happen? What do you think? Seashell says it really happened. Okay, we got one for it really happened. Vanessa says it was an illusion. Okay, so we got one for happening, one for an illusion. I think those kids are gone, says Sherry Ann. Sherry Ann also believes it really, really happened. Oof, interesting. Interesting. At the same time, there's nothing about it in the newspaper we have seen. Nope. Haven't watched yet. Just checking in for thumbs up. Yeah, a very great episode. I thought it was a really good start so far. Definitely check it out and come back and hang with us. Promise. I think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna like it. It was pretty good. We do know Maddie is gone. That's not an illusion. That much we do know. We do know Maddie is gone. That much can be established. Absolutely. The only scene that's really in question is the final scene of this episode. This right here is the only really scene that I guess is in question. Was this a real scene? Did this really happen? Did these kids all really get slaughtered, or was it an illusion? I don't know. Let us know what you think. He might have left the hand to pin it on her. Maybe, maybe. It's hard to tell. It is. It's a little hard to tell. It is a little hard to tell. If it's fake, then everyone's okay. If it is fake, yeah, if it was an illusion, then they'll all wake up like it was some weird vision they all just had. But if it's real, then it's real. But it's tough. I recall seeing different kids in the trailer. I think they got replaced. That's no, it's very true. We definitely see different kids in the trailer later on. At some point, maybe in the next episode or at some point early on, we are going to get introduced to the rest of the children, which are the ancestors of Mike Hanlon, the Hanlon family. The Hanlon family. Right here, we see Leroy Hanlon, the head of the Hanlon family, who just moved into town. But his son is going to be in the thick of things. He's going to be one of the main characters. We see him riding the bike right here, and this is also going to be one of our new kids that we haven't seen yet as well. So all we see is one, two, three, and four of them riding together. We don't see those other two kids in a lot of the other shots. So there's a really good chance that that was legit, that these kids really did get killed. Because I'm thinking back about all the scenes that I saw him in, thinking I'm trying to replay the trailers in my mind. And a lot of the scenes, just about all of the scenes that we saw these two kids in the trailers, kind of happened in this first episode. So I'm starting to think it might be kaput. I'm starting to think it might have been real, that they might actually be gone, and this is going to be our new group of quote unquote losers club material. These four will be our next group, along with the girl that's her friend as well, the other girl in the glasses. They might be gone.
That's too bad. That's too bad because I really liked Phil and Theodore. They were
I did.
endearing.
I did. Yeah. They were a good pair. They were a good team. They had some good lines, some good scenes. But if nothing else, I think if they are gone, if they are dead, and they do get brutally killed that early, that quick, and such a interesting and gruesome manner, if nothing else, it is showing me that nobody is safe on this show. With this being a prequel, and with us knowing that Pennywise continues to, rise up every 20 set, roughly every 27 years for a new cycle of feeding, that in it of itself tells us that a lot of these characters that we're meeting during this prequel are probably not going to fare very well. So yeah, it's just, if anything else, that last scene just firmly establishes that nobody is safe in this prequel, with the exception of maybe Dick Halloran. Nobody is safe.
So don't get too attached to any one character because they're probably going to be gone. But
Mm,
I do like your theories in the chat. They mention, you're totally right. They mention her mental health, Lily's
mhm.
mental health,
Yeah.
a couple of times, even to the point of telling us that she had been institutionalized for a little bit,
Hmm.
which is why she wouldn't say a couple of things because they might put her back in the institution.
Yeah.
Maybe they are framing her. That's also a really good idea. I could see that.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I could totally see that. Could totally see that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The police captain in this trailer tells these kids to stay out of police business. Then he smiles. Yeah, I remember that scene from the trailer. I remember that scene as well. I believe he has a scene with the Hanlon mother as well at some point in that same office. But yeah, anytime you see one of these characters crack a smile, you instantly get a little bit suspicious as to whether or not it's just a real smile, or is this some Pennywise action going on here. But yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see if these kids are really gone, or if that was just an illusion. Again, based on what I'm trying to picture of the previous trailers, I think they are gone. I'm picturing all of the shots of all of the other kids later on, and yeah, I think that's our new group. I think we have our official new Losers Club group once these two enter the fray. So those two kids might be gone. I think they might be kaput. Kaput, kaput, kaput. But we shall see. But yeah, really cool to see the wink and a nod to Bert the Turtle, and of course, which is also a wink and a nod to Matarin the Turtle a little bit as well. Really good to see the turtle imagery already being thrown into the show. Love that. Um, but yeah, I was impressed. I gotta say, this was a good first episode. This is a very good first start. And if they're already killing off this many characters in this brutal of a way, yeah, sign me up. Sign me up. I cannot wait to see more. Cannot wait to see more. Um, okay, let's see what you guys are saying. I think all the kids went missing via the movie theater, and that's a possibility as well. Definitely, definitely a possibility for sure, for sure. I'd give it a shot. Ink. It was good. I mean, the first episode was good. It's very accurate to the books. They're adapting very specific moments from the book, and so far it seems incredibly accurate and incredibly fun. I thought this first episode was a hit. I thought it was a win. I'm very much excited for the rest of the season, for sure, for sure. All right, let's see what else you guys are saying. Pennywise can't be an actual Fae because it's got Earth, like it's an asteroid. So it might have, so it must have like a material stuckness, even though shapeshifter. Yeah, not a Fae, of course. Pennywise is a ancient, you know, cosmic entity. He really is not different from everything we've ever really seen. But of course, like we talked about earlier during the pregame show, he does have his limitations. He does have some things that he can't do. So we're going to see the limits of that, I believe, throughout the series. Maddie dead, says Zane Comics. Yeah, Maddie's gone. Maddie is an absolute goner. Um, and I think it's going to be interesting. It looks like we're very much getting our narrative up until the point where it's kind of was centered around this disappearance of Maddie and the children kind of, investigating what they can find. But for me, I really want to see Dick Halloran enter the show. I think once Dick enters the show, and then it's really going to start to pick up. Little disappointed that we didn't get to see him in episode 1, but I get it. It's just the first episode. I imagine we probably will see him in episode 2. But this is what I want to see. I want to see some Dick Halloran and him starting to get kind of on the trail of Pennywise, because I think these two characters are going to have some very interesting interactions, with Pennywise being what he is and with Dick Halloran having the abilities that he has. These two characters are very much primed for some very interesting screen time. And more than anything else, I really just want to see how is Pennywise going to react to somebody that has powers, someone that has substantial supernatural powers. So cannot wait to see Dick Halloran next week.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going to Pennywise because
Mhm.
it looks like he's in the sewer with
Oh
the
yeah.
flashlight, and now he in the background he has the circus sort of thing that Pennywise used to travel with. So
Hmm.
he's going after Pennywise. He's looking into this. He's investigating, which makes it even more interesting, right? Rarely do we see that anybody goes after Pennywise. He usually comes to
Hmm.
you, or you happen to encounter him because he wants to get at you. But in this case, he's looking into it. So I'm glad that somebody's going to listen to the children. It usually seems like the children try to talk to their parents or the adults and they are ignored.
Hmm. Pretty much. Pretty much. They're usually always ignored. But if they tell one of these things to Dick Halloran, Dick is the type of character where he knows what's possible. He knows what's on the other glimpse of the veil. He knows what is real. He knows that there are things that go bump in the night in this world. So if they come to Dick, or if anyone comes to Dick with one of these out of the world, out of the box stories, he is probably the most likely to listen to it and to investigate it and to see if there is really something there. Because again, he knows the supernatural world. He can see dead people, and we heard that in the episode 2 trailer. They kind of already confirmed his shine abilities for the show, where he talks about being able to see dead things. And that's going to come in very, very handy when it comes to locating Pennywise, combating Pennywise, being whatever role they're going to play, whatever role Dick and Leroy are going to play in combating Pennywise. His abilities are very much going to be a big positive. And again, it could be something that throws Pennywise off his game a little bit because Pennywise has never dealt with anybody that has powers before. Like I love that aspect. But yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I think Pennywise makes the kid sees what he wants. Yeah, he can definitely make you see whatever he wants. Obviously, he can transform into whatever he wants too. Like he does have the shape shifting ability, but more often than not, he's creating these very intricate illusions that can make people see whatever he wants them to see, usually based on some of their worst fears. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of that, a lot of Pennywise creating these kind of illusions for sure, for sure. Maddie could be alive; he could be floating. Now that is a possibility as well. The last thing we saw was the car kind of going off the road, and next there was a big kind of crash, and we saw his little pacifier fly out the window,
Mm.
which was pretty funny. But we didn't really see exactly what happened to Maddie and to his body. Did he get killed in that car accident? Did they rip him apart in that car? Or yeah, is it possible that Pennywise brought him down to the sewer and exposed him to the deadlights, and now he's floating? Could he potentially be floating? I think it's a possibility. Again, I feel like until you actually like see a body and you see it get eviscerated, it's kind of always hard to know who is and who isn't dead, what is and isn't an illusion. But who knows? I mean, maybe there is a possibility that Maddie isn't dead and he has been exposed to the deadlights, and yeah, maybe he's down there floating with everybody else.
Yeah, but the body, the children do say when they're looking at the newspaper that no body was found. So they did not
Exactly.
find his body.
Exactly.
His father was blamed for the murder, even though they couldn't find his body. So we know that even though he crashed or there was an illusion of a car crash, he went missing. His body is not in pieces. There's no car crash. So everything was an illusion, including the car and the crash. They didn't find any of that at the scene. He just completely disappeared and went missing. So I'm guessing that he probably is gone.
Yeah, I mean, he could be. He very well could be gone. I mean, if they're not finding a body, he could just be gone. He could have been consumed by Pennywise for all we know. But until a body is found, there is also the slight possibility that maybe he is floating down there, and Pennywise did expose him to the deadlights, maybe. But you're right. The whole car, the whole family, all of that, that was that. That's a little idea of how powerful the illusions that Pennywise can create really are. That you can physically interact with them, and they can physically harm you. He's a very, very powerful psychic in that regard. Yes, both groups of kids seemed they were being brought into another dimension via the movies. They all were watching movies before all the drama started. Yeah, I mean, and it looks interesting like that, but I mean, unless the movie's doing something far different from the book, Pennywise doesn't have the ability to like trap people and bring them into other dimensions and stuff like that, other than exposing them to the deadlights. When he exposes them to the deadlights, that kind of traps them in this like suspended state where they're kind of reliving their worst hell over and over and over again. But in terms of him like sending them to like other realms and dimensions and stuff, as far as we know, he doesn't have that ability. But again, you never know what the films and what the TV show are going to be doing different from the book. I'm kind of just going off book lore and his book capabilities, but I think they're illusions. I think they're very powerful illusions that he is conjuring up, and he can make the kids see whatever he wants, and he can put them kind of wherever he wants in their mind. But that's just my take on it. You never really fully know what the movie's going to change, what the show's going to change. But yeah, he's a very powerful psychic. He can make people see just about anything he wants, for sure. I'm shocked that Pennywise can shapeshift into four people, a car, and two-headed demon baby at once. That's pretty powerful. Well, and that's the example. I mean, and he's not exactly shapeshifting into all of these things at that one time. I wouldn't be surprised if he was like shapeshifted into maybe one of those things, and the rest were all illusions that he was conjuring around them. because that's what he does. I mean, we do have an instance of him turning into like a school of piranha in one scene, which was pretty interesting. So who knows? Maybe there's a possibility that was actually him just shapeshifting into all of this. But I tend to think it's more on along the lines of his very powerful illusions that he can create. But who knows? He is a very powerful shapeshifter as well, so it's very possible. Very, very possible. Yeah, he's at peak power here. He is. He's at pretty peak power here. The thing about Pennywise is when he awakens, at least in the movies, he awakens in the 80s. In the book, the timeline's a little bit different. In the book, the original Losers Club takes place in the 50s, but the movies did it a little bit different with the timeline. But at least in the movie canon, after that initial run in with the Losers Club, he's never quite the same. He's kind of a little bit weakened after being defeated for the first time ever. But here, we are seeing full-fledged Pennywise in all of his glory, the height of his power, the most powerful he's ever been, never been stopped, never been messed with, has ruled over Derry with a iron fist for centuries. So yeah, we're definitely seeing one of the most powerful versions of Pennywise we've ever seen during this timeline. Absolutely, Elizabeth. I love how the young one in the booth, yeah, the hammer, yeah, the hammer was good. The hammer was good. But yeah, I guess we'll find out if the kids are gone or not. That seemed to be split down the middle, even in our chat, which is interesting. Very interesting. Oh my God, that's so true because they made such a big deal about how that girl went to the mental hospital and weird stuff happened to her dad's body parts. That's very true. Yeah, different kids in the trailer. Absolutely. There are definitely different kids in the trailer, and we're going to see them. I imagine we'll see them next week, probably, for sure. For sure. Um, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Yeah, his soft spot for troubled kids probably starts before we see him with Danny in The Shining. And maybe this is where it starts. Maybe this is where that whole guardian mentality comes from for Dick Halloran. Again, we know from the books that he's involved in the incident at the Black Spot, where he uses his shine ability to help save some of the soldiers there. So yeah, this might be his first run in with like true evil, real evil. Yes, he can see dead things. He's got these other supernatural abilities, but coming face to face with something like Pennywise is coming as close to true evil as you possibly can. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this run in that Dick Halloran has with Pennywise in the early 60s is what shapes him into what he becomes later on in The Shining. Could very much see that. Like he's coming face to face with something far worse than he ever thought imaginable here.
Yeah, and like we were saying in the pre-show, and this kind of correlates to the little girl grabbing the hammer and going down into the theater. We're going to have a couple of characters that their real life is already so full of horror and they're against so many things that humans are doing to them that Pennywise is not going to be as big of a deal to them. So I think that's why the little girl was unafraid, because we do see that she's already living in 1960s America, so she has probably dealt with a lot more than the average child, being that she comes from an African American family. And with the people at the Air Force and the Air Base, we already are starting to see that they're not really welcoming to Airman Major Malloy. Um, he is holding a position of power, and some people are not liking that. We're seeing that they are not embracing him, and we get this whole Russian spy sort of side scene, which I didn't really understand, Jeremy. Were those really Russian spies?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of Russian stuff they weave in and out of the show. Um, I don't know. I don't know how far they're going to go with that, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think the whole military aspect of the show, it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize the military. We see, if anyone saw the trailer for episode 2 that played at the end of this, there's a very interesting scene between James Raymer's character and Leroy Hanlon, where they talk about they're searching for something. That got me wondering, what exactly is the military searching for? What are they searching for that has been buried underneath Derry, which is exactly what he says. There's something buried underneath Derry, which of course we know could potentially be its landing site, the impact where his comet originally landed, because he did land underground. And we know that we're going to see a flashback to that at some point in the series. So, if this is the case, what exactly are the army searching for? And how did they figure out about Pennywise in the first place? If they do know about Pennywise, if they know that there was some kind of landing, how exactly did they figure that out? And what exactly are they doing? Why are they looking for something underneath Derry? So at first I was wondering what kind of role the military was going to play, what kind of like how big of a role they were going to be. But if they're going this route where the military has this kind of secret project, because we saw the restricted area that they walked by that people can't go to, that soldiers can't enter. So if they're setting up this kind of secret agenda that the army has, that they're secretly looking for Pennywise, um, at the very least, I hope they have a good explanation as to how they even know about Pennywise. And maybe that could happen through Dick Halloran. But either way, I hope that they have a good setup for that.
Yeah, and it could also just happen because of the time period. So in 1960s, people were really into the alien craze. This is where you get a lot of TV shows that are futuristic, a lot of people who start believing in flying saucers because that happens towards the end of the 1940s. And now that we have disclosure on some documents from literally the government, we know that they were looking for things, they were experimenting, they were looking into these allegations. So to me, it's fitting with US history at the time period that they would have started looking into allegations of UFOs. And I mean, Pennywise, it perfectly fits that description. After all, he is something cosmic, not of this world. There is a crash site, if you will, if they find where he crashed into Earth. So he kind of fits into what was going on during that time period.
Yeah, yeah, definitely does fit in a little bit, I would say. Yeah. Again, it's a very tough, it's a very tense, very tense time period right now at 1964. And Jump and Slash asks, what's up with them sitting on the bed and laughing after fighting off the Russian spies? Shouldn't they be alerting someone about armed spies infiltrating the base? So bad took me out of it. That was a little bit weird as well. That like the whole way that fight ended was very strange, and it did feel a little out of place. I do agree with you there, Jump, because it kind of takes you a little bit out of it. The way that it ends, you kind of just see them backing out of the room, and them and the two soldiers like, get out of here, like, get off my lawn type. So it was a little bit jarring. And then yes, how nonchalant they were after that happened. You would have thought that they would have been running out of that room and raising the alarm. I mean, these are potentially Russian spies making it onto your base and into your barracks and nearly killing you. That is a very big deal. That is a very big breach of security. And they did kind of handle it a little too nonchalantly. So I do agree with you there a little bit. But yeah, I guess we'll see where that's going to go. Where is that going to go? Yeah, me too. Maybe they are soldiers effing around with them. I felt he recognized one of them. That's also a possibility as well. I mean, we do know that he's definitely at odds with a lot of people on the base. A lot of people on the base aren't really respecting his authority, as we've seen. So he does have enemies even within his own ranks. So there is a possibility that those could have been fellow American soldiers just going in there to kind of give them a beating and to rob them. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. But I think it's possible. I think it's very possible that those could have been American soldiers that who came in there. Absolutely. But one thing I did like about that scene is something I think we're going to continue to see throughout the season. How Leroy Hanlon is literally fearless. Like this dude, this is one thing that the creators have made an emphasis about, like when they were creating the character, and it's why him and Dick Halloran make such a good team because Leroy is fearless and Dick Halloran has the supernatural abilities. So together they make a really good team. But I loved that scene and seeing just the sureness on Leroy's face. I mean, he knows he's got a family. He knows he's got a child out there that he needs to protect. But at the end of the day, he is a soldier too, and he is not about to kind of falter in his duties. So even with a gun to his face, ready to lose his life, he still was not going to budge. And again, I feel like that's just a very interesting testament to how strong Leroy is and how fearless Leroy is going to be. The dude really is fearless. Most people would have caved in a situation like that, especially people with a family at home. But he stood strong. Got to hand it to him.
Well, you would imagine that you have to be stronger than the average person to get to the position of power that he's in, not even just as a regular airman, but being that he's an African American airman, he has to be stronger. He has to be able to take more. And, he's going to have to deal with some people pulling stunts like that. I do think that that was other soldiers. There's a scene where he's looking at the man that have the mask on, and he turns and he looks at one that's
Yeah,
standing on the side, and he's standing like an airman,
very
very
true.
much like direct, and his hands are
Yeah,
to his,
yeah,
then he says, okay, you're going to have to pull the trigger, which makes me think he noticed his posture and then decided these are airmen that are
yeah.
pulling a prank on me. And so he then went ahead and said, fine, you're going to have to pull the trigger because he knew it wasn't real. That's where that's what I'm thinking, because there was
Mhm.
emphasis on his positioning of his hands and his body. He was standing like somebody in service.
Yeah, and look and thinking back on it, that scene did kind of stick out a little bit. When you're looking at it in hindsight, that scene kind of stuck out like a freaking sore thumb. And then to see that later on, yeah, more often than not, it was fellow U.S. soldiers that were underneath those masks. If that was really, Russian spies, they would not have hesitated as long as they did before killing Leroy. They would have shot him in the head and just gotten out of there and called it mission abort. So yeah, I tend to agree with you. That was most likely U.S. soldiers.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, let me talk about aliens for a minute, okay?
Please, please
If you will, my favorite topic. So I'm really excited
go right
about this
ahead.
first episode because
Mhm.
they're talking aliens, and you have to, if you're gonna talk about the Air Force, the U.S. Air Force during the 1960s, you have to talk about aliens because during the 1960s, and this is what I'm hoping they're working into the series, when we see that high security facility, there was Project Blue Book. This is not a theory, not a conspiracy. This is something real. There was Project Blue Book, and who was working
Yep.
that investigation was the US Air Force.
Yeah.
So not the Army, not the military, it was the Air Force specifically. The Air Force was working Project Blue Book for 10 years. They concluded that in 1969 and began working on the project in 1951. So he's right in the middle of when they would have been working on this. I'm hoping that this is where we're going, that we're going into some Project Blue Book because they showed us that secret facility.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's safe to say. I mean, and like you said, Project Blue Book is too specific to just be some random scribbling over there. That is definitely deliberate. That is something that the writers threw in there, knowing exactly what Project Blue Book means. So that is not a random kind of throwaway. That's an Easter egg, 100%. And good eye. And now I tend to agree with you. I tend to agree with you. I think they're definitely going to be looking at some of this phenomena through the angle of extraterrestrial. And you could even make an argument that Pennywise is an alien. I mean, he is from outer space, he is from another dimension outside of our own. So you can very much make the argument that he is. And yeah, it seems like James Raymer's character, of course, was very much intent at they're looking for something beneath Derry, something under Derry. So yeah, this very well could play in, and again, that also plays into the hysteria of the whole Area 51 thing at the time, where the entire country is up in arms, wondering about little green men running around in their backyard. So you can definitely tell that Pennywise could dive into that and use that as some of his other motives for fear, some of his other forms. Who knows? Maybe we see him turning into some weird alien creatures. It would very much be fitting for the time, if nothing else. But yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. It definitely seems that the Army, the Air Force, they're kind of approaching this from an alien standpoint.
Yeah. So I'm really excited because it seems that they are paying close attention to US history and actually
Mhm.
using our time period. Oftentimes shows make up their own history and there's different
Yeah.
things that are going on, but it looks like they are closely going with American US history and what was actually happening at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting, and that's the thing. I mean, it's a fictional story, yes, of course. It's very much a fictional story, but it's got elements around it that are based in history, like the time period, 1962. This is really what 1962 looked like at the time. It looked crazy like this. There was tension everywhere. Again, you have the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, everything that's going on during the 60s. It's a very crazy time. And again, it's the perfect setting for something like Pennywise to settle on into, for sure. For sure. And flying leeches. Flying, yeah, I don't want to see any flying leeches. For sure. For sure. It once exploded into a swarm of flying. Yeah, when it exploded into a form of flying leeches. Yeah, yeah, Pennywise is, the thing about Pennywise too is he's creative. He's incredibly creative. Like the way that he pulls on people's fears and he manifests them in some of the most creative ways possible. That's pretty crazy in and of itself. It's pretty just nuts just to see him manifest these people's fears, because he always does it in, again, a very creative manner. He's super, super creative with his illusions and his shape shifting forms, for sure. So the term floating wouldn't be considered another dimension. Where are they floating at? I'm new to the story. I mean, I get one could make that argument. I feel maybe because the deadlights essentially are his true original form, but they do originate in the macroverse. So when you see them floating like that, it's more described as them kind of stuck in their own personal hell, like they're really living their worst fear like over and over and over again. It's a fear hell in a sense. But I don't know if they're actually trapped in some other dimension. It seems like they're just kind of trapped in their own mind, slowly going mad with fear or dying. Sometimes people see the deadlights and it just kills them right away. Others, it drives slowly insane. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah,
And floating golden child, I think the way that I've thought about it is they levitate. So when they see his true form, the deadlights,
exactly.
they levitate.
Yeah,
And I think that's how he's explaining it to children. You'll float too, because they
yeah,
have seen this happen before. So the levitation, in a way, they are floating mid-air and their eyes are hazy
yeah,
because they are in this illusion that he has created for them. And that's if he's not consuming them altogether and you just see them go missing.
yeah, yeah. He's the deadlights are the ultimate tool, the ultimate weapon that he uses. He's got all these other tools and abilities as at his disposal, but at the end of the day, the deadlights are Pennywise. That is who he really is. And this is a shot straight from one of the trailers where he is showing the deadlights to multiple people at a time. And I cannot wait to see this scene. It almost looks like they're kind of looking up as well too. So I wonder what Pennywise has turned into to project the deadlights this big and this fast. Are we actually going to see his giant spider form at some point? Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It looks to me like they're at the movie theater again. It's
Kind
the
of,
entire school in the
yeah,
background. Because you see, when they are at the movie theater, they have that light where it's projecting the movie
yep,
onto the screen
yeah.
that's brighter than where they're looking at. So perhaps this whole movie theater idea is going to be interwoven to him showing himself in this manner over and over to the children.
Yeah, yeah. Very well could be. Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, super creepy. You'll see they're very much in a trance-like state, getting ready to float on upwards, which they usually do. After all, we all float down here. This is one of my favorite shots of all of the trailers, out of all of the footage that we've seen. I don't know why, just something about this shot just it just embodies everything about Pennywise, everything about it. It's just one of the most perfect shots I've ever seen. You get this just very, foreboding silhouette there, just in the background, with him reaching his hand out in help. Very much looking forward to seeing what scene this is from, and is he reaching his hand out to Dick Halloran here? I think he might be. I think he might be reaching out his hand to Dick Halloran in this moment. Based on the fire in the background, I wouldn't be surprised if this is part of the Black Spot incident. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is Pennywise reaching out a hand to Dick Halloran in this moment when he needs one. I don't know why. Something just gives me that feeling that this is going to be a Dick Halloran Pennywise scene. But who knows? Who knows? We shall see. We shall see. Um, let's see what else we got. I thought it was some kind of test. Yeah, Pennywise. I mean, I don't know how much he really cares about tests. He just goes for it. Oh yeah, don't sound like spies. Maybe they were paid by them though. That's a possibility as well too. Definitely, definitely a possibility that they were paid for sure, for sure. For sure. Yeah, that just occurred to me. Yeah, it could. It very well could be. I think that's a very valid possibility, and maybe even a likely one. Who knows? Who knows? Blue thinks they don't work. Didn't think they were spies. Yeah, I don't think they were either. At this point, spies don't just give up on their mission that freaking easy. They don't, especially when they have you outnumbered. It definitely seemed like it was more of soldiers kind of coming in, hazing him, trying to get some kind of payback, and ultimately leaving. That's what I think. This was not anything else, but we shall see. Maybe so. Trying to see if he'd give away confidential info. Trying to see if he'd give away confidential info. I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about Leroy, I don't think Leroy would. I think Leroy is the type where he is incredibly staunch. He's incredibly focused, incredibly dedicated to to his job, to the country. I don't see him breaking. I don't see him ever giving any kind of information away. Now Dick Halloran, on the other hand, I don't know. I don't know about Dick. I don't know about Dick. Maybe I don't think so in the end. In the end, I don't think he would. But I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? How would they get on the base undetected? Did they even have Russian accents? And that's another good point. I mean, this is an army base at the end of the day. At the height of the Cold War, the security would have been up the freaking yin yang. So yeah, how do they get on base in the first place? And again, I think that just points even more to them being fellow soldiers that were going there to fuck with them.
Yeah, I think together the chat and us going through it, I think it's decided, you guys, these were not Russian spies. It had
Yeah,
to be somebody from the base that was
yeah.
messing with him, right? He just got there. He's not very well liked. Even his superior, right, brought him in and said, "You're not receiving a warm welcome. Come on in, come into my office. Let's, introduce you to the town." And he also, I thought it was really interesting that his superior tells him, if you want a normal all American town, Derry is the perfect place, because Derry is the opposite. It's
Literally
the
the
exact
opposite.
opposite. It's hell.
I remember when I first saw that trailer and I was doing the trailer breakdown, I got to that scene, and I played it where, the commander says, "Oh, well, then you're gonna love it in Derry if you want a quiet town." And I think my next line was, "But unfortunately, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about because Derry's literally the worst fucking place on earth." So yeah, gassing him up, making him think that Derry's gonna be this picture perfect home, only for them to realize that it's a literal nightmare. A literal nightmare. Just
Yeah,
like
and so you know what? I was thinking about this. I need more information into how much Pennywise can hear and see in the town.
mhm.
We get a scene where he turns into a lampshade. And this is,
Literal lampshade.
yeah, Teddy's dad was telling him a story over dinner of what his people had to suffer for being Jewish. And he said, the real world is so much scarier that, our skin was turned into lampshades. So he makes that comment. And next thing you know, when Teddy is alone, the clown Pennywise turns himself into a lampshade and scares him. But that wasn't said in his room. That was said at the kitchen table.
Mhm,
So that makes me think, is Pennywise observing and listening to everything, like at
mhm.
all times? Because if so, if he's listening to everything, they don't stand a chance. There's nowhere they could go to kind of converse as to what they're going to do to make up a plan against Pennywise, because
Mm.
he hears everything and sees everything.
Yeah, I mean, if he's seeing every little detail and knows every move that they're going to make, they are at a severe handicap. A handicap I don't know if they'll be able to make up, to be honest. Because he's just so formidable. He's such a formidable entity to go up against. Not only is he incredibly tough to kill just with his basic physiology, but then trying to combat all of the numerous different powers that he has. Insane. Absolutely insane. Um, I don't know. I don't know. One thing I do want to see though, and I know we talked about this a little bit in the pregame show, but thankfully we got that very interesting behind the scenes featurette a few days ago, and it dives a little bit more into, or at least gives us a little glimpse into the Native American aspect that we are going to be getting on the show. And that's something I want to dive into a lot more. I mean, knowing what we know about it from it chapter one and chapter two, in terms of the tribe giving the Losers Club the idea of trapping Pennywise with the ritual of Chud, which of course is a very, very different version of it as it is in the books. The book version is far different. But at least where the show is concerned and the movies are concerned, they tried the ritual once and it failed. But I'm looking forward to seeing all of that past. There's so much stuff there that they can explore when it comes to Pennywise. He's been around for so freaking long. And that's what I want to see. But we got a very interesting glimpse of some of the Native American aspects. And it looks like we probably are going to get a flashback of that initial ritual of Chud. There's one little snippet in the behind the scenes feature that shows one of the Native American characters in some sort of ritualistic mask. Here it is, right here. This was in the behind the scenes feature trailer. So this very much looks like we are going to get a flashback to those kind of mid 1700s, and maybe we're actually going to get a live action version of them trying to trap Pennywise using this ritual of Chud, but failing. We get a little kind of animated version of it in it chapter two, and Mike Hanlon goes to the Native Americans and tries to learn about this ritual. He takes a drink that is some kind of hallucinogenic that puts him on some kind of spirit quest and shows him the Native Americans trying to trap Pennywise. So I think we're going to see that here. I think we're going to see the incredibly weird kind of ritual that the movie and show has created compared to the book. It's a bit different, and I don't think it's bad in any way. I think the show's version, the movie's version, was actually kind of interesting. Their version of the ritual of Chud. But this is what I want to see. I want to see some of these flashbacks to them trying to trap it. And if they're showing this in a flashback, are we potentially going to see someone in the 1962 timeline try this ritual as well?
Yeah. And also the ideas that we get, right? The Native American aspect is really interesting to me because different cultures deal with the paranormal in different ways.
Different ways.
Where yeah, you might come to your parents if you are not Native American, or you're just the basic family in Derry, and they're gonna tell you like, stop with all of your, the things that you're saying, they sound insane.
Yeah.
But if you maybe come from a background of a culture that believes in the paranormal or believes in deities and demons, they might be opening like a line of communication where they might listen to you. If you're Native American and you're a child and you tell them that you saw something, they're more likely to believe that you saw something, because
Mhm.
in their culture, they do have shape shifting demons and
Exactly.
skinwalkers. So
Yeah.
you're more likely to get some help. Now, it seems to me that it wouldn't matter to Pennywise. He works out of the rules and regulations of the world. So whatever we do does not matter. Any sort of ritual wouldn't work on him because he doesn't work within those rules, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he doesn't operate within any of those rules. I mean, it's interesting, like you said, every culture, whether it's Native American or in the book, it's Bill reading a book on Himalayan myths. But whatever culture it is, like you said, they're all going to have a different approach in terms of how to deal with some kind of supernatural crisis. But that's the thing with Pennywise. He's not just like some kind of spirit, supernatural presence. He's different than that. He's far different than that. He's real. He's corporeal. He's a real being. He's a living kind of breathing embodiment of chaos. He's not some spirit that you can just banish away. So yeah, these rituals are never going to fully work on him. He's just built different.
Hmm. And perhaps it's not the ritual that works, but it is people standing up against them. What we
Yes,
have seen is that if you are
yes,
not afraid, he loses some power over you. And so
yes,
the ritual itself may not work, but it brings the community together, and it
yes.
brings the community into believing that we don't have to be afraid of this entity. We can control it. We can pray to whatever other God for salvation against this entity or protection. And
Mhm.
so if you lose your fear
Yeah,
inadvertently, it works. Not the ritual, but the fact that the community is united and not being afraid.
and that is the key, especially in the films. They realize that it's that it operates using fear, and even in the books too as well. They find out that Pennywise he gets his power from fear. And that's when we get a very neat scene of Bill's consciousness traveling all the way to the macroverse, telling him, essentially kind of telling him that this ritual isn't going to be enough. You need to use your inner willpower. You need to use your imagination to defeat him. But one thing I would have kind of liked to see the original kind of ritual, because again, it differs a lot from the show to the books, in the movies to the book, excuse me. In It Chapter 2, in the movie, the Ritual of Chud was an interesting version, but it was far different from the books in terms of everyone had to take a very special part of their childhood and burn it in this kind of ritual. But in the book, it plays out a little bit differently, and I think it could have been kind of interesting to see this kind of iteration. Whereas in the book, Bill and Pennywise engage in something called the game of tongues or something like that, where they each have to bite down on each other's tongue, and the first one to
Mhm.
laugh loses. It's basically a joke off. It's basically a game where you go joke for joke with Pennywise, and the loser loses. And it's one of those kind of contracts where you have to kind of abide by it. But obviously the show did not go that way. The movie did not go that way, and I understand it. I mean, some of the stuff in the book is a little wonky, and I think that is
Mhm.
amongst one of the things that is a little bit wonky. Seeing all the stuff that happens leading up to it, and then all of a sudden just seeing Pennywise and Bill just like sit down to have a joke off. It's a little wonky. It is a little wonky. So I totally understand the movies kind of changing that and creating their own version of the Ritual of Chud. And I didn't have a problem with that. As a book reader who likes the book, I thought it was an interesting change because that was always one of the more wonky parts. This weird joke off.
Yeah. And that's where you get, cocaine's a hell of a drug. Some things are
Mhm.
great and some other things
Yep.
it doesn't quite match. But
Yep.
I mean, hey, on cocaine he wrote the greatest story. What can we do on cocaine? Probably not the same. So most of it is amazing. He came up with an amazing story, which I like. I did see an interview where Stephen King told the producer that he has just complete freedom to change and do whatever he wants. So
Yep.
he's not really closely looking into it to be exactly like the book, which I like. I like that he gave them the freedom to change things here and there so that they could make more sense or that they could be more interesting. I do
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's always an interesting kind of prospect where the author is freely giving the show's creators reign to kind of do their own thing. That's usually something authors do not like to see. Authors usually like to see their work adapted exactly as it is. So, I mean, it's if nothing else, it should be interesting to see what they come up with. And I think, I mean, this isn't adapting the It novel at the end of the day. That's something we have to realize. This is It Welcome to Derry is not an adaptation of Stephen King's It. Stephen King's It has already been adapted. That is It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2, the films. That is the book. This right here is based on the very thinly kind of detailed interludes, which don't have a whole lot of material there to draw on. Yes, you can kind of look at some of the other significant events in the Stephen King universe and piece some things together, like the Dick Halloran kind of saving everyone at the Black Spot, the whole Black Spot incident, which takes place in Derry, Maine, even though Dick Halloran is a character from The Shining. So this isn't exactly a um, adaptation of the book. Again, the books are already been adapted. This is a prequel. So they do have a little bit more room to kind of do their own thing every once in a while because the details are so sparse in terms of these earlier timelines that Pennywise awoke in some of his earlier cycles. So that's one thing I always kind of keep in mind when I'm watching the show. This isn't an adaptation of the book. This is a prequel based on the lore of the book.
Which I like because we have a lot of questions, right? We saw the movies, and even if you didn't see the movies, you could still watch the show. That's
Yeah.
what's great about it being a prequel and being different from the book. If you read the book, you could still watch the show and be surprised and interested in the story. And if you didn't watch the movies, you can still watch the show and kind of understand what's going on. Little by little, they're going to show us more about this entity. I know some people in the chat were saying they were new to this universe,
Yeah.
and they're doing a great job and kind of showing us from the
Mhm.
beginning to now how he came to be. So this is the perfect show for you to be introduced into the Pennywise universe.
And that's a good idea. I mean, especially when you're creating a show like this. I mean, yeah, it's always going to be a little bit beneficial to watch the two films before you watch It Welcome to Derry, but it's by no means required reading. You don't have to watch the two movies to enjoy It Welcome to Derry. You can watch this show by itself with nothing else and still very much enjoy the storyline that they're going to be telling. Um, So yeah, I think it's interesting that they have some kind of creative freedom to kind of explore some of these lesser known incidents and lesser known moments within the history of Pennywise that are kind of very loosely detailed but aren't very filled in terms of what really happened during some of these things. And I always kind of look at it in the sense of the book and the on screen being two different canons. The book is the book canon. All of the books that Stephen King has written, the Stephen King universe, how interconnected it is. The books are one canon. Everything we see on screen is a totally different canon, is how I kind of look at it. So yeah, I don't mind them going off script a little bit because again, there really isn't a script for this time period. That it's a prequel to the book. So yeah, they're going to have to fill in a lot just coming up with it on their own, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine and it's definitely interesting. They have a lot to work with if they're using the real world, right? 1960s. I think they chose a great time to really like introduce us to Pennywise because there's so much going on, so much that they could use, so much horror in the real world. So I really like the time period that we are going to be kind of seeing and working backwards.
Hmm. Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. The whole working backwards thing is going to be super interesting where instead of going forward they're going to continue to go further and further into the past with all of these seasons of It Welcome to Derry, where season 1 is set in the 60s, season 2 will be set in the 30s, and so on and so forth. So I think that's going to be very interesting, especially when you get to the 30s timeline, because in the 30s timeline is during his cycle when he was awake in the 30s. There's some very interesting things that are detailed during that time period as well, in terms of some of the very interesting forms that he took on, like these weird giant hawk-like forms that we kind of see in the second It film during the flashbacks. So yeah, there's a lot of rich stuff for them to draw on if they're going backwards instead of forwards. I mean, you can't go forwards. Going forwards has already been done. The book has already been done. Those time periods have already been told and adapted. So yeah, it makes sense for them to go further and further into the past. I love that. I cannot wait to see more from the 1740s timeline and hopefully learn a little bit more about his human persona, Bob Gray. So yeah, the further they go into the past, the more intriguing I think the lore is going to get.
Yeah, for sure. And the different cultures handling Pennywise and coming up with creative ways to deal with him. Definitely for sure. I do see that people are really excited about this baby form that he took on.
Oof.
I thought it was really interesting. So I think that that's kind of how it's going to be, right? And I'm interested to see if you think this. So we know we're not going to get a lot of the clown, but do you think we're going to be seeing like different creatures like this
Oh,
baby?
hmm. Oh yeah. I think we're going to see something in probably every episode, if not close to every episode, some kind of form that Pennywise takes on or some kind of illusion that he creates. Like you said, we're not going to see the clown too much until around midway through the season, towards the end of the season. And then apparently we're going to see quite a lot of him, as Andy Muschietti talked about. Like at the beginning of the season, you get kind of like none of him. And then towards the second half of the season, you get a lot of him, is how Andy Muschietti was portraying it. And I love it. I love it that way. Like I said during the pregame show, I'm glad that they're not showing the clown in every single episode. They need to use the clown form very sparingly so it can maintain its effect when people see it. You don't want people to become desensitized to the Pennywise form. So yeah, I love that they're going to be leaning into all of these other weird forms and illusions that Pennywise is going to be conjuring up and shape shifting into, like of course the creepy demon baby that we see in episode 1. So yes, for like the first half of the season I would very much expect us to see a lot of stuff like this, where we see him taking on forms of other weird things that people fear, with them saving the clown for the second half of the season.
Yeah, and it's fitting because it seems like we're going into an escalation sort of profile here. We know who our little gang is, the gang of misfits, right?
Hmm.
Pennywise didn't go for the other children, for Teddy or Phil. He went for, in that little group, the child that was most vulnerable. So
Yeah.
we began our story with Maddie. He wasn't even friends with the misfits. That's how much of a misfit he was. Like the misfits didn't want to be friends with him. So that's how low on the totem pole he was. He goes for him and then begins to escalate to the other children, to more children, right? I'm guessing that the family, Major Malloy's family, is going to be involved, one of his children. So he's really escalating things. And he's beginning with this little baby form and then growing into himself, which I think was really good symbolism. The pacifier, the baby, we're beginning small and then escalating to the clown.
It is. It's definitely an escalation, 100%. It's almost like, we're building up to this crescendo of Pennywise at some point later on in the season. And again, I think that's a right way to play it. I think, I love how he kind of compared it to Jaws, the shark on Jaws, where you don't want to show the shark in too many scenes because it will lose its effect. People will stop being afraid of it. Pennywise is a very similar character where you want to use him sparingly so people really get that kind of shock every time you see him do something incredibly twisted. You don't want to become too desensitized to seeing the actual clown. So again, I'm all for them not using the clown a whole lot until the second half of the season. And then, of course, we have 3 seasons to look forward to. So if they want to kind of lean in and slowly roll out the clown during the first season, I am totally all for that because by the time all 3 seasons are done, I imagine we're probably going to see quite a lot of the clown. So less is more sometimes in situations like this. So I'm fine with it. I actually enjoy it. I prefer that they're doing it this way. When they're beating him and his friend came in the light in the hall and had the same light in from the movie theater, bright orange. Yes, he did. He very much did. Yeah, a lot of people were wondering, were those really spies that were beating on the soldiers, or was it fellow soldiers? I think a lot of us kind of came to the conclusion that it was fellow soldiers for sure. I wonder if when they're in the trance, if they may be living and experiencing the other dimensions. Who knows? I mean, it's hard to know for sure, but from what we kind of can tell from the lore in the books, when Pennywise exposes people to the deadlights and we see them floating like that, it's usually described as them being trapped within like their worst nightmare, like a personal hell of their own creating. Pennywise, of course, operates on fear. He feeds on fear. He wants to induce fear in others. So when exposing people to the deadlights, it makes sense for them to kind of be floating there, like in their own personal hell, is kind of how it's described.
I like how you guys are thinking about different dimensions, though. And I
Hmm.
like that the show is incorporating like paranormal and alien things into the
Hmm.
show. Because if you don't know anything about Pennywise, then yeah, it makes sense that that's where your mind is going. Like, are we talking about an alien creature or different dimensions? So I really like how they're introducing that. That's an interesting aspect that we haven't seen to Pennywise. People thinking about where is he actually taking them, what are they
Hmm.
seeing. So I love your questions. um, Totally new questions, and who knows, right? They haven't shown us thus far in the movies or anything like that. We haven't seen what they see, and maybe they will show us.
Yeah, maybe that's something they can explore when, because we know that he's going to be breaking out the deadlights at some point, and a lot of people are going to be victimized from it just based on that shot we get in the trailer. So yeah, who knows? Maybe at some point we can get a POV of what somebody is seeing through it when they're infected with the deadlights. I'd love to see that POV to see what people are really seeing when they're stuck in that trance-like state. That could definitely be interesting for sure. For sure. Um, Let's see. Yeah, the idea behind the kids floating is that they are stuck in a fear state. Yes, from Pennywise to feed off of them. The more afraid the kid, the better the meal. It keeps them sustained for the next 27 years. And exactly, I mean, when he wakes up, he needs to snack on fear and a lot of it. When he first emerges in 1715, he kills around 300 settlers before he goes back to his slumber to hibernate for another 27 years. 300 people. And then again, when he wakes up in the 1740s, he also consumes around 300 people within like a 3 year span. So, yeah, he needs to eat and he needs to eat a lot to sustain himself for that 27-year cycle. And yeah, usually that's the best way for him to do it is to create as much fear in his victims as he possibly can so he can feed off of that fear. And that is where the deadlights come in. So usually it's at least it's implied anyway that they're in some kind of hellish state of their worst fears. Um, and which is diabolical in and of itself. Very diabolical in and of itself.
Yeah. Samuel is saying like fear for Pennywise is like seasoning. It makes them more tasty.
Exactly. Exactly. Salts the meat, as Pennywise would say. Salts the meat. What can you say? He likes them tenderized. Very tenderized. The Native American aspect would definitely tie into the Shining movie too. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely ties into the Shining as well. We got a lot of tie-ins to the Shining. We have, of course, the tie-in to Shawshank Redemption with the Shawshank State Prison bus that we see in the trailers. A lot of tie-ins to a lot of other King's work, and I imagine we'll continue to see that as it Welcome to Derry continues. As we start to see more episodes, I guarantee they're going to be littered with aspects and little Easter eggs pointing to some of his other works, because that's how his books are kind of laid out, almost like it's one giant canon that they all share a little bit. So, yeah, we're going to see a lot more winks and nods to some of his other work while we watch It Welcome to Derry, for sure. For sure. Similar stuff happened in America after lynchings, people being turned into wallets. Yeah, I mean the whole leather skin wallet at the end of the day. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And yeah, you see Pennywise kind of turning into that clearly because that was one of his worst fears. One of the kids' worst fears must have been being turned into a freaking lamb. So yeah, it's and like you said, for the time period, it makes sense to see something like that. So you're right. You are right. Yeah, ritual is a state of mind. It can be hurt with people's minds, and especially when people are together. So a native ritual could scare him away. It could. I mean, it certainly could. In the books, the ritual of Chud doesn't defeat him entirely, but it works in a sense where it weakens him enough so their inner will and their inner kind of fortitude can finish him off. So the ritual does have a little bit of effect in the book. It doesn't work on the show. Like on the show, it just doesn't work at all. And it's actually their willpower and them conquering their fear that ultimately defeats him. But yeah, that's Pennywise's Achilles heel. He wants you to be afraid. If you can conquer your fear, if you can reach that state of mind where you're not afraid, and you can kind of like we saw in the second movie, in the second film, when they're kind of just throwing insults at him, and we see him kind of
Mhm.
shrinking more and more and more. He's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. At the end of the day, if you're not afraid of Pennywise, he loses his power over you, basically.
And what I'm interested to see is he loses his power over you, but it also seemed like he was losing power just altogether. Like
Yeah.
he was weakening.
He
So
was
it's not
weakening.
just
Yeah.
him losing power over you and
Yeah.
he might have power over somebody else. It
Yes.
actually weakens
Yeah.
Pennywise, the being, and he retreats. So it's even more powerful to lose your fear because you could actually defeat him. You could make him retreat
Yeah.
back into the sewer.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's psychology. I see you guys talking in the chat about, the community aspect of it and believing that you are not afraid or that you
Yes.
don't have to be afraid because you did a ritual. it's psychiatry. Sometimes people who think they're possessed or that are have some sort of paranormal ailment, they
Mhm.
will give them rituals to remove the demon. And psychiatrists do this because all that matters is that they believe that they are okay. So however way they can make you believe that, if you believe that you're okay, you're no longer afraid, whatever way that you need to get there, that's what's going to work. So I really like that they're incorporating some spiritualism into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. I mean, like you said, it adds that aspect of confronting your fear, facing your fear, your fear of Pennywise, your fear of the things that he uses to prey on you with, and that can ultimately be all you really need at the end of the day to combat Pennywise and to weaken him to the point where you can fight back, to the point where you can land that killing blow. It's ultimately all about conquering your fear at the end of the day. The ritual might have helped a little bit in the book and helped weaken him a little bit, but it's ultimately them conquering their fear and confronting the clown that ultimately defeats it. And that's what we're going to have to see happen with this next iteration. And we'll see if that can happen. Will they be able to conquer their fear of Pennywise? Or will a lot of them end up getting killed off? Again, we do know that Pennywise is going to go on to continue his cycles for many, many years to come after this time period. So it wouldn't be too outside of the norm to see a lot of these characters in this current 62 period get killed off, unfortunately. But who knows? Maybe they'll manage to kind of send him back into an early hibernation in a weakened state if they can conquer that fear again. We shall see. Um, Stephen King does a great job at allowing his story to be adapted with creative freedom, but also not changing the heart of the stories. And that's usually what you want to see from a good adaptation. At least in my opinion, that's usually what I want to see from a good adaptation. I don't mind a few small changes here and there as long as it stays true to what the story was, as long as it still feels like that original story, as long as it still feels like it, as long as it still feels like Pennywise. It's okay to make some of these small changes again, especially for this show, where this show isn't exactly is a direct adaptation of the book. Again, the books have already been done. This is a prequel to the book. This is a prequel to the movies, so they definitely have much more room to be creatively free here. And yeah, I mean, I like seeing that sometimes. I don't mind seeing some few deviations to source material as long as the overall story remains true to what the story was.
Yeah, and to be fair, Stephen King is busy. He has so many stories out there right now, so many shows that are being
Yep.
adapted from his books. So right now he's so busy that if he wanted to keep track of each and every one, I imagine it might be very difficult, or it might prove to be difficult. He's busier than ever. I don't think that I have ever seen so many Stephen King stories at once because, he has one here and there every year, but at the same time, we have it. He also had the Institute, right? They adapted that story. So he's
A
super
long
busy.
walk,
The Long Walk, yes, The Long Walk, which
tons
wasn't
of
so good.
no, a long walk was a bit of a dud. But like, to your point, yes, I mean there's been so many Stephen King adaptations over the last 2 or 3 years. You got the new Salem's Lot, you got Chapelway. There's so much stuff out there that has been adapted from his work just in the span of the last year or two. So yeah, he's busy. I haven't seen this, as to your point, I haven't seen this many Stephen King adaptations this close together ever in my life. It's crazy. Everything's getting done. Even super obscure stories are getting done, like The Institute, which I would say was probably a rather obscure story, not a huge hit. But we won't get into The Institute here. That's going to take a whole stream in and of itself to, unfuck that mess.
Mhm. I mean, with Stephen King, it's about volume, right? Sometimes it's
Yeah.
just volume, not necessarily quality, but it has been one of his gems. This is a really good story that he came up with. It's really interesting, it's unique, right? So I think that this, out of all of the adaptations that we've had this year, this is going to be his winner.
I think so. I think that's safe to say. Out of everything that got adapted of his this year, yeah, I think this is going to be the best. I think this will be the best Stephen King adaptation we got this year. Out of anything and everything else that came before it, yeah, I'm betting money that this will be the best one for sure. For sure. Yeah, fear, fear is a seasoning to Pennywise. Yeah, he wants to season that meat a little bit. Season that meat. Like in the movie Office Space, the guy got hypnotized to we. Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe Pennywise is certainly capable of many different things for sure. I tend to love all King adaptations, miniseries, even the cheesy ones from the '90s, like Thinner and the Stand. Um, the Stand was actually a pretty fun adaptation. Like the '90s one, it was pretty fun, I must say. I actually did enjoy it. They did try to do another adaptation of The Stand a few years ago where Alexander Skarsgård was playing Randall Flagg. Funny enough, Alexander Skarsgård, of course, the older brother of Bill Skarsgård, who's now playing Pennywise, his older brother played Randall Flagg. And it just wasn't it,
Mm.
it just didn't feel right. I like Alexander Skarsgård, but this adaptation of The Stand, it was not that good. It was
I
really
liked it. I
yeah,
really liked it. Yeah,
yeah,
I thought it had a lot of pizzazz and flair. He could get flair to that character like no other, right? He made him very much like larger than life. So I liked it. Um, Funny side note, when I was looking into the show, Welcome to
mhm,
Derry, we know that these two are brothers, right? And they
yes,
have a little brother who is 13 or 12 years old.
mhm,
And they were commenting how their little brother is getting bullied. And I
mm,
just thought that is a wrong choice to
yeah,
bully the sibling of these two characters. That's not a good choice. All they have to do is show up at school, and that will
yeah,
deal with the bullying. But
mhm.
to have the guts to bully the little brother of it, the dancing clown, I mean, can't believe it.
Yeah, it's brazen. It is brazen indeed. Um, but yeah, it would have. I mean, it's interesting to see that Alexander Skarsgård was playing Randall Flagg and Bill Skarsgård is playing Pennywise. Because during that recent behind the scenes featurette that was recently dropped, one of the writers and co-creators was asked if you could have Pennywise have a scene with any character in the Stephen King universe. One of the characters they picked was Randall Flagg. They wanted to see what does Randall Flagg fear? What would Pennywise, present himself as to someone like Randall Flagg? What does Randall Flagg even fear? So that would have been interesting to see the Skarsgård brothers have a scene together as Randall Flagg and as Pennywise, even though those two characters never meet in the book. But yeah, loving the crossover. Definitely loving the crossover. Again, that's always something that Stephen King's been very known for is tying all of his books together into that one kind of loose universe. And it looks like we're seeing that here on the show as well, where they're tying in not only the Shawshank Redemption, but they are also tying in other stuff as well, like The Shining with Dick Halloran. So love it. Love the tie-ins, absolutely. I enjoyed watching Doctor Sleep. Doctor Sleep, I mean, Doctor Sleep, I think is an underrated film. Doctor Sleep got a lot of hate when it first was released. It got a lot of negative reviews, and I get it wasn't a super accurate adaptation, but it was a good film, man. Doctor Sleep, I thought was a really good film. Seeing Ewan McGregor play the older, grown up Danny, and of course seeing Rebecca Ferguson playing, the lady in the hat. Um, I loved it. I thought Doctor Sleep was phenomenal. It felt like a true and proper sequel to The Shining, set 30 years later. So yeah, I like Doctor Sleep. I thought it was good. I actually really enjoyed Doctor Sleep. I don't know why it gets so much hate. Don't know why it gets so much hate. I know it was cheesy, but I didn't hate the Mist series. I didn't either. I didn't hate the Mist. I mean, the series I didn't like as much, but I didn't mind the Mist film with Thomas Jane all those years ago, even with the changing to the ending. Hell, especially with the changing to the ending. The ending to the Mist film is way different from the books, and it's way more tragic. I think the ending to the movie, The Mist, is way better than Stephen King's ending in the book. That's just my personal opinion. It's so much more tragic, um, but so realistic. Like you could definitely 100% see something happening like that in those circumstances. So no, I like The Mist. I think The Mist was another one that got some, undue negative reviews. I enjoyed it. The TV series was okay. I mean, I don't think the TV series was like great, but it wasn't horrible either by any means. Like it was certainly watchable. I would have watched more seasons if they would have continued it. But yeah, The Mist is another one. Mist is another one that I enjoy. Have you seen The Mist?
No, I haven't. I don't
Mm,
think I have. I think I began the series, but
mhm,
I didn't finish it. And
mhm.
you guys are talking about cheesy. Sometimes cheesy is good. There's a lot of
Yeah,
shows that I watch that
absolutely,
are so cheesy and the dialogue is bad, but they're
absolutely.
comforting. The world is comforting, and so I enjoy a cheesy show here and there, for sure.
Me too. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with watching a cheesy show or a cheesy film every now and then. There's nothing wrong with that, and don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. Bring on the cheese. That's what I say. Bring on the cheese. But yeah, enjoyed The Mist. I very much enjoyed The Mist. And again, that ending was so tragic, so heartbreaking, yet so profound. The ending to The Mist, the film. And the fact that it's so different from the book's ending is just brilliant. So brilliant the way that The Mist ended. Really good, really good film. Absolutely. Yeah, I love Doctor Sleep. Not really a fan of the kid and ending, but the rest amazing. Yeah, and I can understand that. I can understand that the kid and a little bit of the end. I can understand that. I kind of enjoyed it personally, but again, nothing's ever going to be a 100% accurate depiction one to one. There's always going to be a little bit of differences for sure. Just finished a new episode, and holy shit, that was insane! It was right. It was a really good one. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good first episode. I think they're starting off with a bang. I love the opening scene of the opening scene that we were hoping the show was going to start off on with the hitchhiker kid trying to get out of Derry, only to get pulled right back in by good old Pennywise. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I thought episode one was really good. I can't wait for episode two. Seeing the little trailer for the season to come at the end of episode one was phenomenal, and I will definitely be doing a episode two trailer breakdown up on the channel at some point, either tomorrow or the next day. Be on the lookout for that. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see where the rest of the series goes. Cannot wait to see Dick Halloran. Hopefully, we get him in episode two. And really looking forward to seeing him and Leroy's storyline start to kind of take root. Because it looks like we're going to see a pretty interesting parallel where we're going to see the children investigating, and at the same time, we're going to see Dick Halloran and Leroy Hanlon also investigating. So it's going to be fun to watch these two different POVs both try to learn and find out more about Pennywise, only using different methods.
Yeah, and we get kind of a little bit of a foreshadowing when Teddy is on his bed looking at the comic book that he's reading is The Detective. That's the
Mhm.
title in front of the comic book. And so it lets us know they're going to be investigating. It's the children who are going to be going after Pennywise. We know the adults are, no help really, but they're going to
Mhm.
be investigating, giving us more information as to, all the details that we want to know. Where did he come from?
Yeah.
How much does he know? How much power does he have? Um, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I mean, if anyone wants a little bit of a rundown on some of the origins and history of Pennywise, I would recommend checking out our latest Welcome to Derry video that's up on the channel. It kind of gives a complete history of Pennywise from before the events of the show, from the time that he woke up to before the events of the show, which is very intriguing. I'm very looking forward to seeing some of that stuff on the show and how much they're going to kind of go into it. But yeah, episode two is going to be really good. It looks like they're really kicking things up in the second episode, and we're going to see. We're going to see the town of Derry slowly get worse and worse and worse as Pennywise eventually makes his grand appearance. And while that happens, we're going to see these very interesting investigations taking place through the kids' POV and through the adults' POV. But overall, I feel like the show has all of the makings to be a really, really, really good series. And with Bill Skarsgård returning himself as Pennywise, just puts a kind of cherry on top, as far as I'm concerned. And with Andy Muschietti returning to direct and to head up the show. But I can't wait. I cannot wait. I am very much looking forward to episode two. And then recently, speaking of news, breaking news on episode two. Now, usually these shows play every single Sunday, which HBO usually does. But from what I'm hearing, episode two of Welcome to Derry is going to play on Halloween night instead, with Halloween night just around the corner, with it only being a few days before it would normally come on. It looks like they are going to be airing episode two on Halloween Day instead of next Sunday. So be on the lookout, guys. We only have to wait a few more days for episode two. We don't have to wait a whole week. Looks like episode two is going to be here Halloween night.
That's really exciting. And we get to see the intro because there was no intro for this episode, but this epic intro that they're talking about, we'll get to see it Halloween night. So it's very fitting. I'm wondering if they're saying that they really love the intro. I'm wondering what it'll be, um, what song they're going to choose.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, what song are they going to choose? What is the animation going to look like? Tons of questions because apparently, whatever kind of intro sequence they developed, they really, really enjoyed it. They thought it looked really, really good, but for some reason, they wanted episode one to be more of a cold open, which I understand. First episode of the season, sometimes you want to get right into the story and not have any distractions in the beginning, so I totally understand them not having the intro sequence in the first episode. But yeah, it will 100% be present in the second episode. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what kind of animation did they create and what does it sound like as well. But we will find out on Friday. On Friday, here we go, right here, right from the official It Welcome to Derry account, which says, "Don't miss an early release of episode two on Halloween. Episode one of Welcome to Derry is now streaming." So there we have it, folks. The second episode is going to be premiering on Halloween night instead of Sunday. So we're going to be getting it a little bit early. So that's going to be good.
Yeah,
That
and I
is
love what Golden Child is saying here. Halloween night and just in time for Three Eye Atlas. The connections that you're making, Golden Child, I really love because that's what they're talking about in the show. They're talking about, investigating into some sort of, asteroid. And who knows, he might be on Three Eye Atlas if they turn out
Mm.
to be aliens, which that's what I keep telling Jeremy. These are aliens. They're coming for us. They're going to be here any day now.
Any day, any day now, these aliens are going to show up, and who knows what is going to happen. But hopefully, before that happens, we can watch a little bit more of it. Welcome to Derry. That's my only hope. That's my only hope. I'll have to download the episodes if I have to, just in case the aliens do come. I'll be able to watch them on the fly as I flee for my life. But yeah, I can't wait. I'm very much looking forward to episode two. I think it's going to be really good. The trailer for episode two and the rest of the season that played at the end of episode one really, really looked good. We got a really inside look at what to expect over the next few episodes. And of course, I will be doing a breakdown on not only episode one, but I will also be doing a trailer breakdown for episode two. And that will be what I'll be doing for every single episode. We'll be doing episode breakdowns along with trailer breakdowns for the next upcoming episodes. And of course, we will be right here every week doing our pregame show and our live after show right here on the channel. So definitely make sure you guys come and hang out with us after you're done watching it. Welcome to Derry, and we will be continuing to discuss it with each and every one of you all season long. Because we want to hear from you guys. We want to know what you guys have to say. We got Doc in the house. What is up, Doc? Good to see you, my friend. Damn, that was a great first episode. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed the first episode. I thought it was a really good start, a good introduction into this time period of Derry, Maine. Because we all know Derry, Maine up until this point. Like the location is very familiar to us. It's really the timeline and the differences that they really needed to establish. And as you mentioned earlier, PM, this first episode had brilliant world building, an absolutely brilliant world building in terms of setting up Derry, setting up 1962 Derry in particular, and everything that comes with that, the fear, the paranoia, all of the stuff that's going on in the world at that time. You really get a sense that they paid very close attention to all of those details and crafted this very realistic 1962 feeling. So for the first episode, brilliant world building, and we got some really good character development introducing some of our main characters for the show. So yeah, I think overall for a pilot episode, it accomplishes everything that a pilot needs to accomplish to get people hooked in and invested. Again, that first episode alone, that first 10 minutes alone, very much reminded me of the first 10 minutes of From.
Hmm.
From hooks you in so quick, so easily with that first 10 minutes or so, that scene. It grabs a hold of you and it doesn't let go. And I thought this was a very similar kind of feeling where around the first 10 minutes of the episode, we get this gnarly scene inside the car with this birth of this demon baby and everything that came with it. It gave me a similar feeling to how the From pilot kicked off, how they kind of get you hooked right in right from the very beginning. So yeah, I cannot wait, guys. Cannot wait for episode two. Really, really good stuff so far. But of course, we always want to hear from each and every one of you, and we always have to give our scores as well. So, looking at it, Welcome to Derry, Season 1, Episode 1, what score would you guys give it on a scale from 1 to 10? With 1 being awful and 10 being perfect, what score do you guys give the first episode of It, Welcome to Derry? Sound off in the chat. Let us know your score. What about you, PM? Where are you with episode one? What kind of score are you giving this one?
I'm between 7.5 and 8.
Mm,
I do like where I see the parallels and From, which still to me these are different things. We apples to oranges.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
however, um and I have that bias. Like this is just not going to top From. I don't care what they do with it. But
Nothing will talk from for people. Nothing.
however, I did see where you guys are drawing parallels here. They introduce you to a child and they're not
Yes.
afraid to kill child immediately,
Exactly.
just like
Yeah.
from there, right? They
Yeah.
introduce you to Megan, you're kind of getting to know Megan, and next thing you know, it's off with her head. Megan
Boom.
is gone.
Yeah.
They did it here for me. Teddy was really endearing, and Phil was my favorite character. I was like, I'm gonna love this show because of Phil. I
Hmm.
want to
Yeah.
hear everything that kid has to say, all of his conspiracy theories. Next thing you know, Phil is gone, and so is his little sister. So I
Yeah.
do see the parallel. They introduce you to these characters, you fall in love with them, and I mean, as quick as they introduce you to them, they're off. They're
Yeah.
done. So I do see the parallel there.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely some interesting parallels for sure. For sure. Um, we got some really good scores in the chat. Let's see what we got here. Awesome stuff. We got Miss Joan with an 8.5. Sherry's giving it an 8.5 as well. Elizabeth giving it a 10. Golden Child giving it a 7.5. Doc Hayes giving it an 8.9. Highest score we've seen so far. Awesome. We got a 7.5 from Blue. Let's see what we got here. Stephanie gives it an 8. Awesome. And Minerva also gives it an 8 out of 10. Very, very interesting scores, guys. So it looks like for the most part, most of us really enjoyed the first episode, seeing a lot of eights, right around eights for most scores. Love seeing that. Love that. Yeah, nothing can top From. It's an original story. You're 100% right. From, for me, it does have a leg up on just about everything else that's out there because it's original, because it's not based on anything. It's not based on any book or TV series or anything that came before it. It is simply just a new and original story, and a good one at that, which is something we don't get a whole lot of these days. Just really, really good, brand new original stories. So yeah, From, nothing will mess with From. From's always going to be my favorite to cover here on the channel. But in terms of it, Welcome to Derry. Loving it so far. Really enjoyed episode 1. Cannot wait for episode 2. Love that we're getting some pretty good, decent scores in the chat. Again, it seems like most of you are right around that 8 area, 8.5. Great. Love to see it. For me, episode 1, I would give a solid 7.5. That's where I'm at. I'm at a solid 7.5. I really enjoyed the episode. I feel like it started off with an absolute bang, got me really hooked right from the first 10 minutes. Loved that opening car scene with poor Matthew, and just to see the trauma that he had been through. So much trauma to the point where he's literally sucking on a pacifier at his age, just giving you a sense of how much trauma this kid is living with right now. So I thought that was a really good opening. The show really started with a bang, got a little bit slow, a little bit towards the middle of the episode, then picked up again. But overall, I enjoyed it. There really weren't any aspects of episode 1 that I hated. Some small things that maybe could have been done a little bit better, but nothing like too major. But overall, for the most part, a really good pilot episode and a great introduction into Welcome to Derry. And of course, really great world building and setting up this version of Derry at this time period in 1962. That is something they probably did better. That was probably the best part of the episode, seeing how well they established 1962 and the fear that everyone was living under during this time. So for me, solid 7.5. Can't give it anything lower than that. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. And Samuel gives it an 8.5. Awesome. Great score, Samuel. Yeah, again, it seems like most of us enjoyed it. All the scores that we're seeing in the chat are all really good scores, all 7.5s, 8s, and 8.5s. So that's great. That's great. The show definitely seems like it's off to a pretty good start. And yes, poor Maddie, R.I.P. Maddie, or maybe not R.I.P.
Mhm.
Maddie if he's maybe not dead. Maybe he is deadlight bound. But yeah, poor Maddie went through the ringer in this episode. You definitely feel for the kid, for sure, for sure. But great episode. Really great start to it. Welcome to Derry. Absolutely love it. Absolutely
Yeah.
love it.
I do like that some of the From people are watching it, Welcome to Derry, because when we were discussing
Me too.
From,
Love that.
and there was the theory of aliens or four-dimensional beings and From, a lot of people had trouble grasping the idea that, a four-dimensional being would be in From or in the real world. And I think that knowing that he's a cosmic entity, he's the perfect example of a four-dimensional being. It can make you see whatever he wants. He could change things as he pleases. He's not
Yeah,
of this world, but he presents like a physical thing. So
yeah,
when people say four-dimensional being or an alien, this is what they're referring to. He doesn't look like an
yes,
alien, not our typical alien, but he is a cosmic entity. He is not of our world. He is a four-dimensional being. So when the connections are made there and From, I think a lot of people were hearing alien and thinking little green man,
yeah,
with the big head, and not necessarily. Alien things can be just like it. They could be
yeah,
just like Pennywise. They could
yeah.
present however they. So I do like that From people are getting into Welcome to Derry, because who knows, maybe this will help us figure out From. I see the connections you guys are making, and I still think they're different, but I like it. I like where you're going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. And yeah, I mean, it's super great to see some of the Frumley in here watching it. Welcome to Derry with us. Absolutely love that. I love when we see the Frumley joining us on our excursion into the new show that we watch. Whether it's whatever new show that we take on, it's always fun seeing some of the Frumley join us with that new show and diving into it with us as well. Love seeing that. We really do have a phenomenal community here that I'm super grateful for. Absolutely grateful for. Yeah, I'll be devastated if From ends with aliens. Me too. I'm right there with you. I really hope it's not aliens. I know the alien theory in From is definitely a popular one. A lot of people think that it is alien related, and I suppose anything's possible with From at this point. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I really, really will be a little bit devastated if From just ends and it's some form of aliens. I think we need something a little different than that. But that's just me.
And I don't
That
think it's
is,
going to be aliens, but it's going to
yeah.
definitely be a cosmic entity. And
Hmm.
what is a cosmic entity? A cosmic entity is an alien. So
Ooh,
I think people are turned off by the word alien, but a
yes,
cosmic entity, you
very
cannot
much.
tell me. Yeah, you guys are turned off by alien
Yeah.
and the label, but you cannot tell me that the man in yellow is not a cosmic entity. He's doing
I
things
think he might
that
be.
we do,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
He's in it for some other reason other than, hey, I just have a problem with you. He seems to be feeding or playing a game of some sorts with people's lives, a chess
Hmm.
game with
Yeah.
humans. That is a cosmic entity. I don't believe that the Ben and Yellow was ever a human, a physical human. I think that
Hmm.
there's more at play, and they're bending space and time. Now we have story walking. So you're literally bending space and time.
Yeah.
And in this sort of, sci-fi series, cosmic entities can present differently. So I do think it's a cosmic entity. And a cosmic entity is an alien. But you
Mm.
guys are turned out by the word alien.
Yes, interdimensional being is, I guess, is better than hearing the word alien. I mean, see, I'm fine with it being something like that because I do think there is going to be something along the lines of some kind of higher entity that is in control of Fromville. What for me, when I think of From ending the alien way and it being disappointing, I'm thinking of like actual aliens, like little green men. Like this whole Fromville was just one giant experiment from aliens in spaceships somewhere. That would be disappointing for me. That would be a very disappointing alien ending, just for me personally. But in terms of it being like some kind of entity from who knows where, some other dimension, that would be very interesting. I think that could be a super, super interesting ending. It's the alien little green men probing with their little spaceships. That is an ending that I don't want to see, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't think that they're gonna do that. I mean,
Yeah.
They are much more creative than that.
Yeah.
But in order for you to play a game with human beings, you have to be above them, above them and have some power over them. So I think, it's going to be a cosmic entity, not of this world, and therefore aliens. I love aliens, so I'm always going to stand by the alien theory. But,
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
aliens.
Love you some alien. And I like aliens too sometimes as well. But yeah, when it comes to From, if it's some kind of deity, some kind of interdimensional being or something like that that's in control of Fromville, that could be very interesting. The only kind of aliens I don't want it to be are, again, the little green men and spaceships and saucers that are, your basic kind of average alien is one thing I hope it isn't. And I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be that at all. It seems like we have at least some interesting evidence pointing to this just not being aliens. It definitely seems like it's more along the supernatural realm. So yeah, can't wait. And of course, we don't have a release date yet on From season 4. They are continuing to film right now. We have recently gotten some information from the actor who plays Kenny, Ricky He, stating that filming is almost wrapping up. But we also got a new casting call that has recently gone out, and the casting call, the role for the role that they're casting is going to be filming around the week of November 10th. So if they're still filming well into November, then that likely means we're probably not going to get From season 4 until March or April. Probably not January or February like we were originally hoping. Closer to March or April will be probably more realistic for us getting From season 4. But of course, until then, we got tons of stuff to watch right here on the channel. We are going to be doing every episode breakdown for It Welcome to Derry every single week right here on the channel. We will be going live, and I'll also be doing episode breakdowns in regular video form. So be on the lookout for my episode 1 breakdown and for my episode 2 trailer breakdown and predictions. Definitely be on the lookout for those. And then, of course, in November, we have Pluribus, ladies and gentlemen, another show that we are super excited to start covering and start talking about. From the creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, Vince Gilligan, has a brand new show coming out called Pluribus, and it looks incredibly interesting. So we will definitely be covering that as well. And until then, we have some fun stuff to hold us over till From gets here.
Oh yeah, and Pluribus. If you like From and Welcome to Derry, but specifically From,
And
you're gonna love
Severance.
Pluribus and Severance. You're gonna
Mhm.
love Pluribus because it is a theory crafting show. They're not gonna tell you the answer. You have to figure out what's going on, and so it's open to theories. So if you like, theorizing about what it could be, this is gonna be the perfect show for you. With Welcome to Derry, I don't think, it's open to a lot of theories just because it's more about the storyline, it's more about the plot. But Pluribus, you're going to be able to theorize what the answer
Mhm.
to the question is.
Yeah, and that's going to be fun. That's going to be so fun. I mean, it looks like such a fun show. And Rhea Seahorn looks like she's just perfect for this role. But Vince Gilligan it's freaking Vince Gilligan at the end of the day. The guy has put forth two of the best shows that have come out in the last 30 years with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He's stepping into some new territory with this one, a little bit of a different genre. Going to probably have some interesting kind of small comedy aspects to it once in a while, I would imagine. But this is something different from him. This is a different show that we've ever really seen on screen. So I cannot wait. Very much looking forward to Pluribus. That is starting the first week of November. And we'll be covering every episode of that right here on the channel as well, along with It Welcome to Derry over the next 8 weeks. So yeah, we got some fun stuff. Got some really fun stuff. Yeah, see, a lot of people are looking forward to Pluribus, maybe even more than Derry, as Samuel points out. Yeah, Pluribus looks great. Pluribus looks and sounds really, really fun. Very much looking forward to it. very much indeed. But that is going to do it for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for our episode one live after show discussion for It. Welcome to Derry. Very much want to give a big thank you to each and every one of you who joined us on this fine evening. And we will be back every single Sunday right here on the channel. We will be doing live pregame shows before the episode airs, and we will be doing live after shows as soon as the episode finishes. So definitely come back and hang out with us every Sunday night for our It Welcome to Derry Sundays, and we will see where this phenomenal series is going to go. But until next time, stay safe out there, ladies and gents, and we will see each and every one of you on the next one.